X-Men Apocalypse is finally out. I saw this movie really early, and I've been dying to talk some spoilers about this because unlike Civil War, which I really loved, this movie actually has some spoilers and some things to talk about. Some people die, some crazy shit happens. So you guys have already seen my review. I'm not going to re-review the movie. I really like this movie. I think it's underrated. I think that critics are being a little too harsh on it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that this movie requires you to really pay attention to every other film that took place in the series thus far. And when there's this many movies, especially when one of them involves a lot of time travel and world changing and almost really eliminating an entire film, that can get a little bit muddled. You have to really pay attention to focus on every other thing that's happened to really feel the weight of a lot of the arcs in this film, or what certain things have implications for in regards to the future. For instance, you have to pay attention to X-Men 1 and 2, which came out in the year 2000 and 2003, because this film shows the beginnings of the relationship between Jean Grey and Scott Summers. You have to remember what took place in First Class with Moira Taggart and Professor X. Those events also weigh on this film. And you have to keep in mind the warped timeline of Days of Future Past, because now people view Mystique as a hero. Tons of people look up to her. You have to remember all of these little important pieces of information to really feel the full weight of certain things that take place in this film. Most of the other films didn't really require that, except for maybe the first three. And it's easy to follow a trilogy and feel the implications of everything that takes place, but with this film, you really have to be a fan to really feel the weight of what's going on. See, I rewatched all of the X-Men movies except for Origins because I really hate Origins. It's the only X-Men movie I don't feel like rewatching. Every once in a while I'll watch X-Men 3 just because I watched 1 and 2 and I feel like having the finality. But X-Men Origins is really the only one that I'm like, no, I can't watch that anymore. So I had them fresh in my mind. I had the events fresh in my mind, and I was pumped for Apocalypse because I felt the weight of those films and I understood where everything was going. And when I watched Apocalypse, it can easily be taken as a bit muddled, I think, for someone who isn't really well versed in the X-Men films. I think if you just went into Apocalypse without having experienced the other X-Men films, at least semi-recently, it'd be kind of like me walking into Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 without having seen Part 1 or any of the other Harry Potter films, because this film really is a culmination of all of the X-Men films thus far, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I pretty much loved it. I don't quite get the criticism. But let's talk about spoilers. Weapon X. I did not know Wolverine was in this movie, so when he came out of that thing and started slicing dudes up, I was in heaven. I had no idea I was going to get that. These are actually surprisingly difficult to hold within your fingers. I feel for you, Wolverine. After I saw the first trailer for Apocalypse, I stayed away from the trailers, and a lot of people were talking about this final trailer and being spoiler heavy, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm just not gonna watch it. So when Weapon X, aka Logan/Wolverine, stepped out of that box, I was so pumped to see that, and he went nuts. Blood, shit, and face and flesh was just flying. It was awesome. It was so great. Fan service? Sure, maybe, but I mean, hey, I'm a fan, so I was pleasantly serviced by Wolverine. I'll take it. Havoc also dies in this film, which was sad because they gave him a little bit more of an emotional attachment in this film. You introduced his brother, Scott Summers. I liked Havoc a lot in First Class. He was a fun character, so it was sad to see him perish in this movie, but it gave us one of the best scenes as well, because following that death, Quicksilver came in with Annie Lennox, and that was just great. I thought it topped the Quicksilver scene in Days of Future Past, along with another Quicksilver scene. Towards the end, he walks up to Apocalypse, and he has this great reaction where he's just like, and you get that great sequence where he punches Apocalypse around for a while, because you know what? Everyone would have just been like, why didn't Quicksilver just beat up Apocalypse? Because he's so fast. So they had to address that, and they found a very fun way to address that. For me, the most impactful and powerful scene in this movie, and the one that riveted me from the rest of the runtime on, was Magneto and his family in the forest. That is a great scene. It's one of the best scenes, in my opinion, of any X-Men film. His performance, the weight of it all, the impact, it worked extremely well. Following that, the sequence where he visits the mill he worked at, and he has that amazing speech where he tells all of those workers that ratted him out to the police straight to their face, just think about whoever you care for most. They're about to lose someone they love. And I was like, oh shit. Magneto in this film was fantastic, as usual. Michael Fassbender was great as the character. I didn't think he was was sidelined at all. I thought a lot of this film really relied on him in that moment towards the end where he finally goes against Apocalypse and it's like, I didn't betray you, I betrayed them. I got chills, man. I got chills down my back. It was great. Let's talk about Apocalypse himself. And this is a iffy thing for a lot of people. In fact, on the first viewing, I was a little bit off and on with him as well. He started out and I was like, oh, this could be really cheesy. This could not work out. But as he went along with his way of speaking, the way they did his audio, I really liked it. I do think he should have been bigger though. And that could easily be achieved with modern day CGI. But in the long run, I am fine with it because... what really can you really achieve script-wise, dialogue-wise, by making one guy a little bigger? I mean, it doesn't really do anything really for your story. If your character's slightly bigger, I guess he would be more physically imposing, but in the long run, what does that really do for the film? You still have to craft a compelling villain through dialogue, and I think they did. One complaint I'm hearing a lot is that Jennifer Lawrence isn't mystique enough, because in First Class she decides to be mutant and proud. So why would she continuously hide in her Jennifer Lawrence face rather than being her blue self? They do address it in this movie. She doesn't want to be that person that was on the news, that everyone suddenly looked towards, that everyone respected, all the mutants around the world. She didn't want to be viewed as that person. Is it because Jennifer Lawrence was tired of wearing the blue makeup all the time? I don't know. I'm not there. I don't work on the X-Men movies. But I think the way they addressed it in the film worked, because in the long run, if you were in that situation and you had the ability to hide, okay, why not? And I love the final battle that took place in Professor X's mind. Again, I got goosebumps when he's like, you're in my house now, and just starts punching Apocalypse. I was like, oh shit, this is awesome. This is one of the few X-Men's that really requires you to have a deep knowledge of the X-Men universe. And yes, it's easily muddled, especially when one of them is a time travel movie. And that's hard to do, especially when other filmmakers have made X-Men movies, because you're stepping into this universe and you're like, okay, I have to get everything right, and then there's all these other movies, and then you have to also make a compelling movie on your own, and there's so many other X-Men movies now that I think they did the best job they could, and I had a ton of fun with this movie. What are your guys' thoughts on X-Men Apocalypse now that it's out? I'd love to hear them below. Guys, I'm going to be doing an office tour pretty soon of my new filming set. We got a new house, and I've been building up a new set over the past few months, and it's going to be in use probably within the next few weeks, and I'm really excited to do that. That office tour is going to go up very soon. Also, I want to tell you guys about this amazing hot toy. I talked to you about it in my review of Alice Through the Looking Glass. I got this from the Big Bad Toy Store. It's Wolverine from The Wolverine. I love this thing. I got it at the Big Bad Toy Store. They have amazing prices. They're one of my favorite, if not my favorite, online toy store. And I want to tell you guys some more often about things that I get in the background, because I get so many questions about that. Definitely check out that store. I left a special link for you in the description below if you want to click that and check out the items they have. It's a great place for adult collectors as well as kid collectors. Definitely check it out. That thing is beautiful. I often look at it and touch it. And maybe put it on my pillow. Maybe. I definitely do. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.